Welcome back to the Dodgers Ballin' on a Budget rebuild, where I am the new GM and I keep the payroll under $100 million per season, but we keep Shohei Ohtani, who eats up half of that payroll. So with his $46 million contract on the books, we've only got $50 million to play with every season. And in the last episode, we started by trading away about a dozen, if not more, superstars and trading them away for much cheaper players that ended up being nearly just as effective. And with a much less famous group of players, we still managed to win 98 games in Season 1 and make it all the way to Game 7 of the ALCS before getting bounced by the Phillies. In Episode 2, we're going to mostly be renewing contracts of the guys from last year, but we'll also make some other small moves on the team, and then we're going to gear up for another playoff race. With our budget restrictions, I am not going to be able to go after any of these big names at the top of the board. I am going to have to find some diamonds in the rough here in free agency. Right away, I renewed a ton of guys' contracts. But there's a couple of starters that I'm not sold on that I could use as trade capital, and I also am not 100% sure if I want to bring Sal Frelick back. As far as the rest of these guys, even though they're on renewable contracts, a lot of them are eligible for the Rule 5 draft, which would mean I would have to add them to the 40-man, and that's not something I want to do. So I'm going to have to kind of revamp quite a bit of this roster, just because I can't have this many guys on the 40-man who are not going to play. So yeah, that's a lot of guys that I'm going to have to either let go or find some kind of trade for. The last thing I need to figure out is we've got a few guys eligible for arbitration, and the guys that I would really want to bring back are Ramos and Vesia. But Vesia is asking for way too much money. He wants $5.7 million for 1 year. I don't think I can afford that, but we really need a good lefty reliever. And then Ramos is asking for a little bit less. He's asking for 1 year, 4.8. I might be able to do that in there. I just really like how he can crush lefties. There's no shot I'll be able to bring Gratterall back. He's asking for way too much, and I can find other good righties. So we drafted a couple pitchers in last year's draft, Menard and Bermudez. Only issue is I think they're going to be okay, but they're kind of a ways away from the show, and I need to plan a little bit for the future, as the only guy that I've kind of got that can come up right now is Hancock. I don't love the stats of a lot of these other guys. So I want to trade River Ryan, and then I'm going to also trade away Brusdar Gratterall to the Angels for Alberto Soto. There's one guy that I want in free agency for sure, and that is left-handed reliever Ryan Borucki. I need to replace a couple of lefties. I did go ahead and offer a just weak contract for Vesia. I don't think he's going to accept this, but I would love to get Vesia if I can. I just don't think I can get him for a reasonable price. So that is why I want to get Borucki. I don't know if I'm going to even go after any position players. I mean, we made it to the CS last year with this team that is still getting better. These guys are developing still. So what I'm really doing for most of my trades is just kind of cleaning up the 40-man roster and also just continuing to get some prospects wherever I can to fill in the event that these guys get to arbitration or free agency and are too expensive for me. I did just find one trade that I like quite a bit, and that is for Evan Carter. He's got pretty good stats here against righties. That is something that we struggled a little bit last year, especially the outfield. I thought that Sal Frelick might have been the answer, but he really wasn't. And then Carter's also got good plate discipline, good defense, and great speed. So I really like Carter here. Oh, and the most important thing is he's got 2 years left on his renewable contract. Because of that, though, I do have to give up quite a bit, but I am okay with what I have to give up. I have to give up one of our pretty solid second baseman prospects in Alex Freeland. That's okay with me, though, because we drafted Elijah Marsh this past year. I've got the ability to move off of Freeland. And then the other big guy that I need to move off of is Stone Garrett. And he wasn't quite as good as I thought he was going to be. I still like his stats. Totally could have kept him and ran with it. But just trying to get a little bit better. And yeah, I like this trade quite a bit with the Rangers. And so we'll see how Evan Carter does for us next year. All right, after a week, Borucki's motivation is extremely high, 78%. So I am going to lowball him as much as I possibly can. We're going to need to watch out for Paul Bell, generational player. Looks like the Reds got him. I didn't go through the draft class of the other teams when the draft picks first came out. And here you go. Paul Bell, 18 years old, 81 overall. I'm sure he has 99 potential. This guy's going to be a monster. All right, after a little bit of time and thought here, I increased my offers to Vesia and Ramos. I do want to keep Vesia for next year. If I can get him for 4.8, I'm happy with that. And then I actually am going to try to offer Ramos 2 years at 13.2. It's slightly more than what he wants. It's going to be really close with our budget, but I think I can squeeze these in. All right, and just like that, Brodie is in at the bare minimum. I could offer him for 2.7 mil a year. That is great for us. And some more good news right after that. I did not have to go to arbitration with Vesia, was able to get him to accept the $4.8 million deal. He will be one of the highest paid players on this team next year, a left-handed reliever. Biggest move of the offseason so far around the league. Brodie Jr. is headed to the Orioles, 8 years, 217. I'm using the default roster for this video, so he becomes a free agent after 25, and there you go. He's an Oriole. Here's another big move. Of all places, Kyle Tucker is going to Colorado. After another successful offseason, our budget is at $99 million, under our threshold. Shohei at the top, as he will be for the rest of the rebuild. And then we've got some new contracts along the way here. So 2 years for Heliot Ramos. Vesia got at 4.8, just the best lefty reliever I could find for a price that I could afford. Keith will be here for the long haul, and then some familiar names in here. Ryan Borucki, offseason signing. I did bring Kevin Kelly back. I like his stats in middle relief. And then, yeah, everybody else is on renewable contracts. Our window is definitely this year and the next year. So there's a ton of guys that are coming up for arbitration. I'm not going to be able to keep a lot of these guys. So that's why I've been kind of stocking up the farm system just in case. But then many of our other good players, especially our pitchers, have one more year of renewable contracts. If I were to just flip through the different positions, every position has guys coming up with A, B potential that are kind of high 60s, so they could fill in if needed. And we are going to be starting off the season against the Nationals. And just before we head into this year, here is a look at the lineup. Very, very similar to last year. The only main difference is Evan Carter coming in to hit against righties. Very excited about having him on the team. Everybody's improved a lot through that first season, so I feel just even better about our offense. The pitching I know is going to be there. I'll just show you the rotation real quick. It is very similar to last year as well. Only difference is having, I think Stone was in long relief last year, but then I brought up Emerson Hancock for long relief. Then our lefties, Ryan Borucki and Alex Vesia. Clase, of course, will be the closer. A few good guys here in middle relief. Yeah, I think we've got a great team. I think we'll be one of the best teams in the league once again, and let's go get into another playoff hunt. Bottom of the third on opening day. We're down one, but Shohei's up with the bases loaded. And he drives that back into right field. To the track, and just shy of a grand slam. Ryan Borucki's first appearance as a Dodger. He strikes out Wood, gives up a single, and then gives up a run to Tana. All the way in the ninth now on opening day. Our offense has been pretty quiet today, but we've got a runner on second. 2-2 pitch to Kim, and he strikes out. So here's Pages now. And he's going to ground that to second base, so 2 outs. Xavier Edwards will come in to pinch hit here. Pitch from Hers. And that's a ground ball to third, throw to first, and it's in time. The Nats shut us out on opening day. One of the series I'm looking forward to watching during this season is our rematch against Philly. That's not till the end of June. Maybe we can get our get back. Kind of a slow start to the year at 6-9, but we at least have guaranteed ourselves a series win versus the D-backs. And we've continued to stay kind of cold here throughout April. We did just beat the Yankees 16-1. Maybe that's the turn of things for the offense. Shohei and Heliot Ramos have been very good again on the offensive side. And our bullpen's been pretty solid, but our starters have just not quite kicked it into gear just yet, especially Schwellenbach. Trying to hold on to a win here in the bottom of the 10th versus Arizona. This Dodgers team still trying to get things going here in 2026, and Clase will get Castillo to fly out to left, and that is a victory versus a division rival. And the whole division looks a little different than it did this time last year. Nobody's running away with it, which is good for us because we've been pretty cold. But there's 3 solid teams up there, and then we're in the basement with the Rockies to start the year. Chance here for Evan Carter, the newest Dodger. 2 on, nobody out against the Athletics. Carter quickly down 0-2, and he's going to pop that up on the infield. And Carter's been really struggling so far to start this year. He's batting just 184. Let's see if Pedro Pages can be clutch here. Pages gets a fastball right down the middle, drives that deep out into right field. That's going to go bounce off the wall. That'll bring in at least 1. It's 2-2. And it's going to bring in another. Pages gives the Dodgers the lead. Clase in to close this one out, and he gets the first 2 outs. Gives up a double to Hayes. But then he strikes out the last batter, and that is nice to see. A little comeback victory for the Dodgers, defeating the Athletics 3-2. We really need a victory like that because more than half of our offense is cold right now. And it seems like all of our starters are really having a down year. Only Landon Knack is under a 4 ERA. Our best pitcher so far this year has been Alex Vesia, 1.56 ERA through 17 innings pitched. So far, he's making that $4.8 million worth it. And we're finally getting on a little run here, winning 5 straight. We're only 2 games under 500 now. Top 11 versus the Reds, still scoreless, but Shohei's at the plate with the bases loaded. Pitch from Maul, and Shohei drills that out into right. That is going to bring home 2 runs. Heliot Ramos has cooled off since I last gave you the update, but he's got a chance to add on here. And he's going to pop that out into right, but is that going to be deep enough to bring home a run? Throw to the plate. And it's not in time. Clase in once again to close this game out, but he gives up a couple of hits, but he finally gets out of it, and we defeat the Reds 3-1. And after a sweep of the Rockies, we're finally above 500, 34-33, and we're just a couple of weeks away from the big series with Philly. Right now, our closest to MLB-ready position player would be Cam Smith. He's got a 901 OPS in AAA. I still want him to get into the low to mid-70s before I try bringing him up. He can play multiple positions, so I could probably find a spot for him. But that is our most promising offensive prospect right now. So far, our biggest win on the scouting side has been starting pitcher Bennett Nicholas, number 2 player in the class. Looks really, really good. I would be happy taking a pitcher in the first round if it's Nicholas here, especially with the 28th pick. And I haven't found too many position players that I really love so far. We're finally hitting our stride, 38-34, and we are tied with the D-backs for first in the division. Shohei's not having an amazing year with an 886 OPS, but Pahez, Kim, and Edwards are all breaking out this year, as well as Sal Frelick. And some of the guys on the pitching side have really started to turn things around. Nobody's been better than Tyson Miller, who has a 1.69 ERA so far this year. But most of our guys are under 4 ERAs. Our starters have started to really turn things around. And it's just kind of Schwellenbach that's surprising me the most at this point. I finally found a gem of a position player. John Schneider was ranked 39th. He is now ranked 9th after scouting. With the 28th position, probably 50-50 that we can get him, but he is definitely the best position player I've found so far. Playing by far our best baseball headed into the series versus Philly. Let's see how we stack up this year. Schwellenbach versus Sanchez today, and Schwellenbach already gave up a run in the first. But he's righted the ship, and on the offensive side, Edwards and Outman team up to tie the game. And now Ohtani with a double gives us the lead. And Andy Pahez with a 3-run shot opens things up. And Estrada comes in to close things out, and he gets the Phillies to go 3 up, 3 down. We win game 1, 6-1. We also take game 2, 3-2, a little bit closer this time. Let's see if we can finish off the sweep. And now in the 4th inning, Schwarber hits a 2-run shot, giving his team the lead. And we go to our bullpen, and Schwarber hits his 2nd homer of the day on the first pitch from Kevin Kelly. Nola has been dominant for the Phillies today. And he leads the Phillies to a 3-1 victory. Schwarber decided to just take over game 3 there, but I'm really happy with the fact that we were able to win this series. Phillies are one of the best teams, if not the best team in the league this year, so that's a good sign for us. We're starting to figure things out. Just before the All-Star break, Xavier Edwards has gone down with a broken leg. He will be out 2 to 3 months. He's been one of our best offensive players so far this year. So with Edwards going down, that gives me a good reason to give Cam Smith a shot in the majors. We will add him to the 40-man and bring him up to the MLB. I'm not going to have him start or anything, but I want him to be on the bench to have that flexibility in the infield as he can play third base and shortstop. Our rotation has really started to come together. All 5 guys are finally under a 4 ERA, but on the flip side, Alex Vesia, despite a great start to this year, is now up to a 4.25 ERA. Now that $4.8 million doesn't look quite as good. Heading into the MLB draft, we've got the 28th pick in that first round, and I plan on using that between one of these 3 guys at the top of my board. John Schneider is the best position player that I found. Very good corner outfielder. Would be very happy taking Schneider. I might actually move Nicholas up to the number 1 spot here, though. I think I may end up taking a pitcher first round. I don't normally love to do that, but I think we've got a decent system for position players, and I would love to get just an ace pitcher in the system if we end up needing him down the road. And then Daniel Schultz is another decent option. I would love to be able to take him in the 2nd round if I could, but he did move up to right around our pick number. He's a 19-year-old first baseman. He can also play left field, and he just looks like he's going to absolutely mash righties. Not as great against lefties, but he'll be a pretty good bat for us. The rest of my board is a mixture of some decent pitchers who moved up the board as well as some discovery guys, and I'll touch on those if I end up drafting them. So let's get this thing going. So Schneider ended up going with pick number 17 to the Cubs, and that is going to make my job pretty easy here now in the first round. I'm going to take Bennett Nicholas, the really good starter, and I'm very excited to see just how good he is. And in the second round here, pick number 60, Schultz is still available. That is just best case scenario. I am taking first baseman Daniel Schultz. For the 103rd pick, I'm going to take starting pitcher Milt Reyes. I like his hits per 9, and I like his walks per 9. For pick 133, I'm going to take the guaranteed high potential closer, Gray Edwards. And at round 5, I'm going to take starter Ronaldo Davila. He is kind of already at his ceiling. That's the only negative about him, but he's a pretty well-rounded starter, and if worst comes to worst, I can always trade him. And with pick 193, I'm going to take the last starter on my board, Jason Gamble. I don't think he'll ever play for us. I don't love his stats, but he's the best guy I've got left on the board. That is going to conclude the draft. I feel pretty good. I will update you shortly on how things went. The second series of the year in our grudge match with the Phillies, who bounced us in the playoffs last year, is underway. 1-1 so far in the first 2 games. Let's see if we can pull out the third and win the series. This time we're in Philly, and the pitching matchup was Sanchez, but Shohei just interrupted me with a 2-run homer in the first. We're off to a good start. And Nat gets off to a good start in the first. And on the 3-2 pitch, Ohtani strikes out this time. But Pages ends up singling home a run, so we're up 3-0. And now Kim with a sac fly. It's 4-0. Knack has only allowed 2 hits so far through 6 innings. And now James Outman ices this game with a 2-run shot. We put up 3 in the 8th. So a career performance from Landon Knack leads us to a 7-2 victory over the Phillies. And at this point of the year, we are currently tied with the Diamondbacks at 56 and 43 in the West. And winning that series continues to boost my confidence in the team because the Phillies have the second best record in the league, actually behind one of their division rivals in the Braves. And now just a day later, we are facing those Braves, and we're down 1 in the top of the 9th, but runners on the corners. The Braves made quite a few moves in this offseason, and one of those was signing Devin Williams, who's definitely a part of their success. He's 31-5 for save opportunities and blown saves, and he's on a 3-year, $13 million contract. Here's the 1-2 from Williams. And that is grounded to third base. Riley throws down to first, and the Braves win this one. The Braves end up winning the first 2 games of that series. We do salvage game 3. They definitely showed us why they're one of the better teams in the league. It would be a good matchup in the postseason if we end up running into them. Taking a look at our lineup, kind of the weak points for us have been the corner infield spots. Colt Keith and Colby Mayo are both having down years, batting in the 230s, and I think I want to try to make a trade here at the deadline. So I am interested in David Fry on the Reds here, and he's having a good year, 832 OPS, but even more important than that, he's on a 3-year, $2 million deal, which is a steal for an 80 overall experienced hitter. He's also got a ton of quirks, which is something I don't think a lot of our hitters besides Shohei have right now, and he can play both corner infield spots. He can also catch and play left and right field. Big fan of David Fry, and I'm willing to give up Gavin Stone here. So he's pitched pretty well for us, and if you remember last year, he was excellent. However, he's going to be up for arbitration next year, and I am not going to be willing to pay Gavin Stone. That's not where I want to give out. I may have the room for 1 or 2 arbitration contracts, but this isn't where I want to spend that money next year. So I'm willing to give him up. He's very valuable because of the team control that he has. So this is the move I want to make. I'm going to bring David Fry in to play some of the corner infield spots. And now I'm going to go ahead and send Cam Smith back down to AAA. And then to fill in for Gavin Stone, who was in middle relief, I want to give Michael Grove a shot. I don't think we've played him yet in this rebuild. Let me see here. Yeah, no stats in 25, and he is killing it in AAA. So let's give him a shot, and we'll see how he does. I'm going to have Fry come in and replace Kobe Mayo's spot in the lineup. I can't believe he's having a down year after how good he was last year. I would have thought he would continue to develop, but it just has not been his year. I still want him up on the bench, but we're going to give David Fry a shot and see if he can make this offense that little bit better. And I'll just show you that after that trade, we are still at our $100 million budget mark. We're about to see our new draft picks from this year here in a little bit for the first time, but just before we do that, I want to show you what our farm system looks like. A couple of our top guys. Our number 1 guy is our draft pick from last year, second baseman Elijah Marsh. He's been great in AAA so far. 308 average, 388 on base percentage, really impressive. Not going to hit for much power, but if we get the chance to see him in this rebuild, I think he'll be a very solid piece. And then we traded for this starting pitcher, Alberto Soto, whose stats I really like. He's got a lot of room for growth still, but he's pitching great already, 1.93 ERA. We also have a left-handed reliever that I traded for. He's been really good. This guy's promising. I knew that left-handed reliever might be an issue for us down the road, so I wanted to make sure I got Cunningham in here. And then another draft pick of ours here, Keon Sizemore, the center fielder. He's been hurt most of this year, but he was doing pretty well in Double-A, and he's another guy we've got a good chance to see here in the fairly near future. Freshly into a Dodgers uniform, here's David Fry in a big spot, bottom eighth versus the Pirates. And Fry with a ground ball base hit into right. Throw comes home, but it's not in time, and David Fry ties the game. This game's gone to extras, and here's Fry again with the winning run on second base. And David Fry! Way out of here! Whoa! That was killed! A walk-off for David Fry! And he is fitting right in on this roster. Take another look at this. Just slider hung right down the middle. And Fry does not miss it. All right, after that exciting walk-off, I'm hoping for a little bit more excitement here. Let's view our draft picks. And okay, all right. Nicholas with 89 potential. Very solid. Was hoping for a little bit more with him being the second guy on our board. He's 66 overall, so he's not quite major league ready. He's going to need probably 2 years in the minors before we could use him. He's also only got that 3-pitch mix. I think it's a solid 3-pitch mix. But yeah, I mean, I like his stats. He's going to be very well-rounded. That's a good first pick for us. Daniel Schultz is coming in at 60 overall with 84 potential. Very solid stats for a first baseman. Especially love that contact and power versus righties. He's going to develop. He's probably 3 to 4 years away. Then we have Milt Reyes, another starter. I like the way that his stats spread out. He's also a little ways away. And then Gray Edwards had the guaranteed high potential. Only concern is he is 58 overall at 22. And then unfortunately, it looks like our last two starters that we drafted are kind of lower potential than maybe I hoped. I guess they came in sort of at the middle of their range, so I can't ask for too much more than that. Ronald Davila, though, is at 69 overall, and he's 75 potential, so like 1 or 2 years of development, he could be a good long relief arm for us. So I don't hate this pick at all. And then Jason Gamble's a long ways away. He is only 18. He was almost certainly going to be a trade piece for me. I don't expect him to play. I'm happy. I think this was a good draft. Nicholas, I was really hoping he would be like that 95, 96 potential, but we'll definitely take 89. He's going to be a great player. And yeah, I think we did well, especially these top 4 picks. I don't think I've done this before in one of these videos, but I'm just looking at the draft picks around the league, trying to find some of the best players. And the only guy who is high potential like this, 99 potential, is Curtis Coppola on the Tigers. Power hitting right fielder. Pretty interesting build here. He's 66 overall at 21, so like he'll definitely make the league and develop with that high potential there. But he's certainly not a generational player, and I don't think there was any shot that we were going to be able to pick him in that first round. The Cubs definitely had the best draft, but they took 3 right fielders. 1, 2, 3 for their picks. They all look really good, though. So these guys, I mean, with 3 of them, that's a potential trade piece or trade team that we could trade with down the road because they're not going to need all these guys most likely. And then they even got a pretty solid closer here at the end of the draft, too. So I think outside of us, they probably won the draft, and I think we're right there with them. Ohtani and Ramos, as well as Keith and Mayo, aren't playing as well this year as they did last year. But on the flip side, we've had a couple guys who have really impressed, especially Pedro Pajes. His potential actually went up to be potential. That's how well he's been playing. And he's got an 816 OPS at the catcher position. That is really, really good. And then another guy is Andy Pajes. Obviously, we knew about how good his contact was versus lefties, but he's developed very well outside of that too. And check out his stats here. 304 average and a 506 slugging. Very impressed with those two guys this year. Not a great August for us overall. Quite a few L's in here, but we are still tied for the division lead. And the division is starting to shape up very similar to last year. We've been going back and forth with the D-backs for that first spot. Padres and the Giants have been a little better than last year. And then the Rockies are still struggling. And they also traded away Brenton Doyle this year. For September call-ups this year, I'm going to bring up relief pitcher Kyle Leahy. And then even though he's cold right now, I want to bring Cam Smith back up. He's been really good in AAA. Just as Xavier Edwards is getting close to coming back off the injured list, Colt Keith is down with a broken ankle. He will be out for the rest of the season and potentially the playoffs as well. So it's a good thing that we've got some backup plans in the middle infield. And then when Xavier Edwards comes back, he can play infield as well, but his defense is just really bad. So I usually don't like doing that. But we'll be all right without Keith, but it's definitely a big piece of our team. We've gotten hot again in September, and we've won our first 2 games of a 3-game set against Arizona, looking for the sweep today. Schwellenbach's righted the ship, not giving up any runs since the first, but we haven't been able to get anything on the board. Until Sal Frelick hits a solo shot and cuts the deficit in half. But now in the bottom half of the inning, the bases are loaded for the Snakes. Left-hander Barucki delivers, and that's a ground ball to shortstop. We're going to get out of it. Now in the bottom of the 8th, Alex Vesia gives up another run. And A.J. Puck comes in the 9th and shuts us down. Despite the loss, we still have a 3-game lead over the D-backs. It would be nice this year if we could skip that wild card series. Just about a week later, we win another series against the D-backs. And Xavier Edwards is finally off the IL, so I've got him back in the leadoff spot. Headed into the final series of the year, we are currently 7 games ahead of the Padres and the D-backs, and we have clinched ourselves the NL West. And we finished the season 92-70. Not quite as good as last year, where we were 98-64. Our best hitters who had at least a decent amount of at-bats were Ohtani, Edwards, and Pages. But Fry, Frelick, Pages the catcher, and many other guys are all above a 700 OPS. Our floor is very high. Our best pitchers by ERA this year were in the bullpen. Miller was unbelievable, and I already signed him for another year at 1.6. Clase was also pretty solid. He was 43-6 in his save opportunities with a 2.48 ERA. And then Joey Estes and Roki Sasaki were our best starters. Schwellenbach was not good as last year. Same goes for Knack and as well as Ohtani. I think maybe my biggest disappointment on the pitching side was Alex Vesia. We signed him for almost $5 million, and I had him in high leverage situations, and he had a 4 ERA, which is about double what he had last year. It looks like we do have some awards here, and we got an MVP for Shohei. He beat out Ellie De La Cruz and Bryce Harper. Clase came in 3rd for reliever of the year. So over there in the bottom right, you can see that Pittsburgh took down Cincinnati in the Wild Card Series, so we will be facing the Pirates in the NLDS. Our rotation for the playoffs is going to be Ohtani, Sasaki, Schwellenbach, and Estes. Knack is going to go over into long relief. I also sent down Michael Grove and brought up Kyle Leahy instead in the bullpen. And then our lineup is going to be pretty much the same as we had throughout the full season. The only missing piece is Colt Keith, who's still on the IL. Game 1 pitching matchup will be Oviedo versus Ohtani. And we're getting a little bit of a break here facing Oviedo in Game 1 because Skeens, Jones, and Keller all pitched in the Wild Card Series, so they're too tired to go here for the first game. It is time for playoff baseball. Will this be the year that the Dodgers take home a World Series? Pirates lead by 1, but we're in the bottom of the 4th with the runner in scoring position. And Carter with a base hit up the middle. That'll tie the ball game. Bottom 7 still tied up, but we've got 2 on with nobody out. Rocchio's going to try to lay down a bunt, and that is down the 3rd base line. Throw to 2nd is in time, but a runner does move up to 3rd. 2-2 pitch, and Frelick strikes out. Now with 2 outs, it's up to our best contact hitter, Xavier Edwards. But he grounds that to 3rd base, throw to 2nd, and we're staying tied through 7. David Fry works a leadoff walk in the 8th, and now here's Ohtani at the plate. He's going to ground that to 2nd base, a diving play. Throw to 2nd's in time, but Ohtani will get to 1st. And now he's going to go for 2nd, and Ohtani's in there, so runner in scoring position. Count is full, and Carter goes down looking. Fastball right down the middle. We have not been able to capitalize on any opportunities, and now Clase's in, immediately gives up 2 base runners, but gets out of the inning. So the winning run is at 2nd for Xavier Edwards. 2-2 pitch, and Edwards strikes out. All the way into the 12th now, 2 outs, Xavier Edwards at the plate. And he lays down a bunt. That should be a base hit. Edwards stole 2nd, so runner in scoring position, but David Fry pops it out into right. And the Pirates finally crack this game open. 2 runs in the top of the 13th. And they end up defeating us 3-1 after all that. Tough to not get the win on that game. Desperately needing a bounce-back game here, but we're already down 2-0 in the 1st. And now 3 more runs come home in the 2nd for the Pirates. Ohtani gets us on the board with a solo shot, and now we've got 2 runners on. So here's Edwards with a great opportunity. And Xavier Edwards rips a base hit down the right field line. That's a fair ball. 2 runs come home on a triple for Xavier Edwards, and it's now 5-3. Andy Pages drove another run home. It's 5-4. Now there's runners on the corners for Pedro Pages. 3-1 pitch, and Pages draws a walk. Pirates head to the bullpen, and the bases are loaded for Xavier Edwards. This is a huge opportunity. Here's the 1-2, and Edwards with a little blooper into right, but that is going to be caught. Now only down 1 in the bottom of the 6th with a runner on third. And Rocchio with a fly ball out into right. That should be deep enough to tie the ball game. Throw is heading to the plate, so is the runner, and it's up the line. It's a 5-5 game. And David Fry gives us the lead with a 2-run homer. And now in the bottom of the 7th, James Outman hits a 3-run shot. We are up 10-5. And with that, I am simming to the end of this game, and Leahy shuts down the Pirates. We win 10-5 in Game 2. After an off day, the time has finally come. It is Schwellenbach versus Paul Skeens. Top of the 3rd, bases loaded, 1 out. Here's Ohtani, and he strikes out. 3-2 pitch, and that's lined into right, but it's caught. Another opportunity here for Ramos in the 5th with 2 runners on. 2-2 pitch, and that's a ground ball up the right side, but that's going to be the 3rd out. So far, Schwellenbach has been able to keep pace with Skeens, and he's now out of the game for Mlodzinski. But Schwellenbach gives up a solo homer to start the 6th. And another one to Reynolds. And now in the top of the 7th, there's 2 runners on for Ohtani. And Ohtani lines that to first base. Here is Ramos again with 2 runners on. Bednar delivers, and Ramos strikes out. We have not been able to get anything going here in Game 3. And Pirates closer Dennis Santana comes in and shuts things down. We lose 2-0. So our backs are officially against the wall. We will have to win the next 2 games against Pittsburgh. So once again, it's Heliot Ramos with a good scoring opportunity. And on the 1-2 pitch, he's going to ground into a double play. Another pitcher's duel so far, but Estes cracks first, a 2-run shot for Triolo. And our offense has been really cold this game. Jones is just completely shutting us down. Not much at all has happened for the Dodgers, so we are all the way here into the 9th. And Ohtani with a ground ball to 3rd, but a nice play by Ke'Bryan Hayes, and he throws him out. And now a diving play by Gonzalez at 2nd, and there's 2 down. Excellent defense from the Pirates has brought us to our final out. And on the 1-2 pitch, Carter strikes out, and the Pirates take us down. I definitely felt like we were the better team going into that series, but it wasn't to be. Our offense was cold. Shohei and Heliot Ramos especially did not do a whole lot for us. And you can see we got shut out 0-2 in the last 2 games. So frustrating way to end the season. I really felt like we had a good chance this year, but it wasn't to be. So now simming through to the offseason, and the Pirates end up defeating the Rangers. Maybe they were better than I thought. So for this offseason, I'm going to have to hire a whole new coaching staff. And unfortunately, a lot of our roster is up for arbitration. I could have sworn that these guys were showing that they had more time on their renewable contracts than this. Maybe there's something I'm not quite understanding with how this works. So with that being said, the roster may look a little bit different next year, but the good news is I have been setting up our farm system throughout this entire video in preparation for this, and we're going to have probably quite a few new guys coming in. Hopefully they'll end up playing pretty well. We'll still have some core pieces on the roster like Ohtani, Sasaki, and some guys on the offensive side as well. But yeah, it's going to be a transformative offseason for us. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I tried to go through things a little bit quicker this season, and unfortunately we weren't able to make it further than we did last year, and we lost in the NLDS. And as I mentioned in the last clip, I will have to kind of retool the team here going into Season 3, but I'm sure that we'll still be competitive. We've got a lot of good pieces left of the puzzle. So hopefully Year 3 is the year for the cheap Dodgers.